How many of you have never picked up Savitri on your own to read it? Okay, good, because maybe after today you will. Mother tells Mona Sarkar, my child, every day you are going to read Savitri. Read properly with the right attitude, concentrating a little before opening the pages and trying to keep the mind as empty as possible, absolutely without a thought. The direct road is through that, the heart. So there's an interesting story about Savitri. There was once a very senior person in Pondicherry, and this very simple man came and told him, I want to start reading Savitri. But his English was very simple, and he was struggling to speak it. So this sadhak thought, now how do I tell him to read Savitri when the basic English is not so clear for him? Then this man told him, English is not a strong point for me, but whenever I read Savitri, I see a blue light on every line I'm reading. So that humbled the sadhak so much. And when Vijay Bhai in Pandi was asked that is Savitri difficult to read? So he said it's extremely difficult to read with the mind, but it's extremely easy to read with the heart. When somebody had asked Mother that after you and Gurudev leave your body, who will be our Guru? And she had picked up the Savitri and said, this will be your Guru. Savitri by itself will be his guide. For all he needs, he will find in Savitri. If he remains absolutely quiet when he is faced with a difficulty, or when he does not know where to turn in order to go forward, and how to overcome obstacles for these hesitations and these incertitudes which overwhelm us at every moment, he will have the necessary indications and the necessary concrete help. If he remains absolutely calm, open, if he aspires sincerely, always he will be as if led by the hand. Savitri has an extraordinary power. It sends out vibrations for him who can receive them. The true vibrations of each stage of consciousness. It is incomparable. It is truth in its plenitude, the truth Sri Aurobindo brought down on earth. So that's just to share with you, years ago, I taught this 16-year-old boy, and after his yoga camp to Pondicherry, where he bought the Savitri. Some teenagers buy it, some just keep it, some read it. He was one of those who actually read it every night. And he didn't understand much, but it was a discipline that he would read it every night before he slept. Now this boy was highly dyslexic, and he was due to give his IGCSE board exam, and he was diagnosed with dyslexia just few months before, and very intelligent, but on paper his grades were poor. He did, of course, a lot of remedial treatment, but he would make it a point to read Savitri, and he said sometimes he would just keep reading. He would intend to read just one page, but he would keep reading, and then he doesn't know when he would fall asleep and the book would be there. And he stood 5th in his school in the IGCSE board exam, and he feels that reading Savitri somehow worked on his brain and helped him to do better. Well, he did take remedial treatment, but I can't imagine that would take him from close to bottom of the class to the top 5. So Savitri can really change things in you if you approach it like that. So, and then, very interesting, this boy would then take Savitri wherever he went. He went to do an internship in summer in a university abroad, and he was reading Savitri below a tree. So everyone asked him, what's that you're reading? So he said, then they invited him to talk on Savitri, and this little 17-year-old, whatever he knew, he spoke about it and his experiences. And then on his door, you can put up a do not disturb sign, but every day he would put up a quote from Savitri or some words of Sri Aurobindo, and people would knock and say, what is that you put up? And he'd invite them in and talk to them about it. So If it could reach a 17-year-old like that, it can reach anyone, isn't it? So again, a very touching story to share. There was a student of mine who was grappling with some kind of low in her mind. And whenever that particular repetitive thought pattern would come, she had learnt up this passage and she would just keep repeating it. Across the awful march no eyes can see, barring the dreadful route no will can change, she stood facing the engines of the universe. And she would visualize that particular thought pattern coming towards her like an engine, and mother standing and stopping it. And she said, inevitably, as I would repeat these lines from Savitri, that would get weaker and weaker, and mother's presence would get stronger and stronger. So what a gift Gurudev has given us in Savitri, and I just feel we are not using it enough. So I thought next week for Savitri, I want each of you to take the trouble to read Savitri and bring me just 2 lines which you use as your mantra through the whole week, and share how they helped you change, if they did help you change. Will you all do that? Make it a point to read some Savitri every day, and if any line stands out, mark it. Preferably a new line. Some of you have been reading, but see a new line that calls to you. And it will be lovely to share how it's impacted you.